Hi, everybody. So caregivers are asking today, what does it take to stay mentally and physically healthy in old age? So to be fully transparent, to stay mentally and physically healthy in old age takes a bit of work. It takes consistent effort. The good news, though, is if you are now just taking an interest in this, because you're looking at your grandparents and you're looking at your aging parents and you're caring for them and you're thinking, oh, I don't want my life to be like that. I do not want to go through all the things that they are going through. Great news. You can make changes today so that you don't end up or are more or less likely to end up in the situations that you are finding the people that you care for. I'm Pamela D Wilson. If this is your first time here, I'm a caregiving expert, advocate, and speaker. You can learn more about me and my professional experience by clicking on the links below this video. There are links to my website where there's a lot of other programs and information. Please like this video. Please follow my channel. Please share it. And also please just comment, even if it's only to say thank you. Your comments and your participation help other people find their way here to my YouTube channel. Good health. It's a blessing. We're all healthy until something changes and we're not. And then it's like, holy moly. So in this video, I will share tips to understand common health conditions that over 40% of adults walking around have. And these conditions can get worse. I'm going to share information about working with doctors and talking with doctors, why some doctors struggle to help patients, why some patients don't understand what doctors are describing. Plus, I'm going to give you a list of questions to ask yourself if you're thinking about improving your health or making any type of lifestyle change. What questions do you need to ask yourself to make that happen? I'm also going to share why health isn't a priority for so many people until something happens. And so let's kind of talk about just the doctor-patient thing, right? Doctors have a limited amount of time. If you think about it, you go to a doctor appointment. You may be one of 20 patients that doctor sees in a day. They're rushed, they're on a time crunch, they have to get to the next person. And this is why it's more critical for you to learn how to talk to doctors and get the care that you need and become your advocate. Because you, me, we are just one person in a system of hundreds and thousands and 10,000s of patients that doctors see. They can't keep track of our care needs. They can't keep track of our health problems. It's up to us to do that. So why do people get sick? Why do people need more care when they're older? How do we stop that from happening? Well, statistics, right, in the United States, from the CDC, you can find these. The prevalence of chronic disease in the United States is skyrocketing because of things like lack of exercise, poor nutrition, smoking, using substances, stress, mental health. It's just what's happening. We hear it in the news, right? Having one of these chronic illnesses affects QOL, quality of life. That is another abbreviation or acronym that the healthcare system uses. And so in society, right, we're so busy, we're living, we're working, we don't pay attention to small things that we could catch early that are health conditions that we can change. High blood pressure. Most people have high blood pressure. They don't even know it because you don't feel bad. You may not feel bad until it gets really bad. High blood sugar. Many people are walking out there with undiagnosed diabetes. Again, initially you don't feel bad, but what you might notice is you're hungry all the time. Maybe you have these just energy lows where you need food and you eat something and then you feel better. Blood sugar highs and lows. Now, I was blessed to learn about a lot of health issues early in my teens because my mother was sick from the time that I was young. She had heart disease, a lot of health conditions, and these caused her to gain weight. These caused her to have fractured bones. She broke her leg. It caused more heart and more medical conditions and more appointments and hospitalizations and all of those kinds of things. And by the age of 60, the arteries in her heart were so clogged that she needed quadruple bypass surgery. And she died 9 years later. She died at 69. Now, I will say my mother was a smoker. She smoked a pack of cigarettes a day for most of her life. That cigarette smoking caused the heart disease. It caused indigestion. It caused stomach problems. She had many strokes. She had trouble doing a lot of the daily activities that most people do. And she ended up with bladder cancer from the years of smoking that really did end her life much earlier, probably 20 years earlier than it had to end. But back then, when my mom was growing up, nobody talked about like how bad smoking is for you or what it can cause or chronic disease or the fact that you should go to the doctor or things like that. But today it's different. If you have a health problem today and you catch it early, it's very possible that you can reverse it with some effort or at least manage it or maintain it. But if you don't go to the doctor to get an annual checkup because you feel healthy, right? You feel healthy. You don't know that you have high blood pressure lurking in there. You don't know that you might have high blood sugar. You don't know that your cholesterol or your triglycerides are off the chart. When you're relatively healthy, this stuff just doesn't show up. That's the problem. It doesn't show up until you go to the doctor and they run blood tests or they run some other tests. Now, I hear a lot of people say, well, Pamela, if I go to the doctor, they're going to find something. Well, would you rather have them find something early that you can correct or find something when it's too late that you really can't do anything about? So what are these chronic diseases? Well, it's anything that lasts for 3 months or longer that medication can help you manage, but, it still may cause problems. High blood pressure, arthritis, diabetes, kidney problems, breathing problems, asthma. Now, when you think about it and you watch TV, right, all those commercials that you see on TV by those pharmaceutical companies, they are advertising medications and solutions for everyday chronic diseases. It's on television all the time. People have a lot of these chronic diseases, which is why it's on television all the time. The things that the commercials don't tell you is that this latest and greatest medication can be one of the most expensive medications out there. If you ask your doctor, there's probably generic medicines at a much lower cost that solve the same problem, that don't have patents anymore. They're not protected by patents. When drugs first come out, they're patented. They're brand name. That's how you can only get them. That's how the pharmaceutical companies make money. So, all of these conditions, go to the doctor, get them diagnosed, do what you need to do to resolve them early so that you can stay healthy. And then just go on with your life. Now, here's the challenge with dealing with the medical system, right? The danger is a lot of doctors don't have time to discuss the consequences unless you ask or take an interest or want more of their time. So what do? You go in, you have high blood pressure. They're like, oh, I'll just write you a prescription for high blood pressure pills. They don't tell you to exercise or look at the salt content in your food or things like that. So people have a health problem, they take a prescription, they go on with their life. That health problem eventually gets worse because they didn't know that they should exercise or watch the salt quality in their food or stop eating fried foods to bring their cholesterol levels down. It's easy for doctors just to write a prescription. It's harder for doctors to write a prescription, tell a patient all the things they should do to change, and then actually have that patient listen and be willing to make those changes. Now, as patients, right, we expect doctors to tell us what we think we need to know. Well, they have 15 minutes for an appointment. It doesn't work that way. They're seeing a million people. They don't know what you do every day. They don't know if you exercise. They don't know if you eat well. They don't have time to have those conversations. So if you don't ask, doctors will not tell you. Patients and individuals have a responsibility to be interested in their health, to be proactive about their health, and to do something. Managing health and health prevention is up to each of us, each one of us, right? It's not up to the healthcare system. It's not up to the doctors. We control our lives. We live in our bodies every day. If you don't pay attention to this, you could become like the elderly parent or the elderly grandparent that you're taking care of that didn't have all of this knowledge, like my mother, when they were growing up. So as all of these little things, high blood pressure, diabetes, progress over time, they add up and the effects on the body become more noticeable and it's harder to manage day to day. Every single illness affects a body system. Heart problems can lead to breathing problems, can lead to strokes, circulatory problems, dementia. They kind of just start to stack up one after the other. So the blessing of you being here today is you have knowledge and you have a choice to not have the health issues of the people you are taking care of. So as I talked before, a lot of the lifestyle risks, nobody wants to hear these, right? Smoking any type of substance or any type of substance use. Poor nutrition. Fast food, foods that are high in fat, sugar, salt, fried foods, all that. We don't want to hear about that. We want to eat the easiest, quickest thing. We don't want to have to cook. We don't have time, right? Lack of exercise and physical activity. We don't want to exercise. We don't have time. Alcohol use, drinking. We have time for that. We don't have time to be healthy. And it's hard. I'm not saying that it is not hard. Because of my mother's health problems, I saw that and I'm like, I do not want to live like that. I started going to the gym when I was 24 and I was out of shape. I mean, I was a normal weight, normal person, right? I went to my first aerobic class. I thought my heart was going to like jump out of my body. I was breathing so hard. I was so out of shape. I started lifting weights. I'm like, holy moly, I'm weak, right? You can look healthy, you can be of a normal weight, and you can still be physically deconditioned and out of shape. So all of these lifestyle choices that we can make can really help us be healthier in old age. So statistics from the CDC, you can find these anywhere. 60% of adults over the age of 65 have at least one chronic disease, high blood pressure or something else, right? 40% of people in the United States have 2 or more, and most people over age 65 have 5 or more. That's a lot. That's a lot to have to deal with. And so what does it result in? Well, if you're a caregiver for parents, they're in and out of the hospital more. They're taking 3, 5, 10 prescription medications. They're going to the doctor all the time. Now, going to the doctor for regular visits is great. Your annual checkups, your mammograms, your DEXA bone scans, colonoscopies, all of that. Preventative care is great. But then when you're older and you have to go to the doctor for all these conditions, older people are not so happy about having to go see the doctor all the time. So don't feel left behind because the healthcare system is failing to educate you about chronic diseases and the long-term effects of chronic diseases. There's a lot of hope out there. You now know you have to do this yourself. Do it. And if you have children, talk to them about lifestyle and model behaviors and everything so your entire family is healthy. We as patients, we as individuals have to be proactive because things happen. Doctors are rushed. I will also tell you that doctors become very discouraged when they make a recommendation to a patient and patient doesn't follow through. Think of yourself. How many times has somebody asked you for advice and then you gave it to them and they ignored it? Whew. How did you feel? You're like, I'm not going to help that person anymore. They don't listen to a thing I say. Doctors feel the same way. They get frustrated. They have all of this information and nobody listens. Well, maybe a few people listen, right? So when that happens, though, there's a negative to the patient because doctors put this little note in your chart that says non-compliant patient, refuses to follow instructions, refuses to take medications, won't go for treatment. That alone can impact the level of care that you get. Let's say that you cancel appointments all the time and you don't show up. Well, the next time you call to cancel an appointment, they're going to schedule you, but they're probably going to double book you with another person because you don't show up. They have this time slot that could have helped somebody else. Now, there are reasons, though, that patients can be seen as non-compliant that are not the patient's fault. So let's say that the doctor writes you a prescription and it's expensive. You can't afford it. So what do? You don't take it. Instead, you should call the doctor's office and say, wow, this is $20, $50. I can't afford it. Is there something else that you can give me, right? Or you don't show up for appointments because, I don't know, you don't have transportation. It's hard to get off work, whatever. You have to figure out how to get there. There's also just a level of understanding or a level of literacy about health language and communication from doctors. Doctors talk fast. They're highly educated, so they talk way up here, and your level of understanding may be down here. So there's this gap. And so if you can't understand what your doctor is telling you, say, stop. You just said 5 words. I don't know what those mean. Explain them to me. Never, ever be afraid to ask a doctor more questions so that you understand. They may seem to get impatient with you. They may not like that you ask a lot of questions. That's their problem. That's not your problem. You are trying to understand what your options are, and you are trying to understand care and the consequences of whether you say yes or no to something. So ask the doctor, what's the main problem we're talking about today? What does this mean? What are you recommending, and why is it important for me to follow these recommendations? If I don't do what you say, what is going to happen to me? If you don't know that, if you don't know the short and the long-term consequences of a health diagnosis, you could have huge problems a year or 5 years from now, and you could be looking back saying, oh my gosh, I wish I knew that. Nobody told me. Well, whose responsibility is your health? It's yours. The responsibility stops with you. The responsibility stops with me. So it's better to be a patient who's a little bit of a rusty wheel, squeaky wheel, a little bit of a pain in the ass because you want information, right? And if your doctors don't have time, say, where do I go? You don't have time to talk to me about this. Who can help me with this? How can I find this information? Maybe there's a nurse in the office or a social worker in the office, or maybe you can go to a disease-specific organization. Honestly, this is why consumers spend so much time on the internet. We're trying to figure out what's wrong with us because nobody seems to have the right answer, and they're not giving us enough information. So if you want to be physically and mentally healthy in old age, you got to do the work. It's up to you. So how do we do this? How do we change our habits? Whew. Well, any kind of change can be stressful because look at you. If you're still here watching this video, what did it take for you to get yourself here today? What did it take for you to find your way to my channel? How much searching did you have to do? And how often were you tempted to tune out earlier because I'm giving you information that you don't want to hear? It's tough, right? What is it about receiving suggestions or recommendations that we all have in common? We may say, oh, you know what? That's not for me. That's for somebody else. Or I don't want to hear that I'm not doing this right. Or God forbid I have to change my habits. Ugh. Wouldn't it be nice if we could look at the suggestion as, wow, somebody cares enough about me to say this. It may apply to me. It may not apply to me, but I will listen and I will think about it, and then I will decide what to do. Because we all have these information gaps or knowledge gaps between where we are and this goal over here. Some goals may be super easy, right? Other goals, not so much. Losing weight, changing a diet, changing foods that we eat to decrease a cholesterol or a triglyceride or a blood sugar level. These efforts can take time and effort and trying one thing out to see if it works, and if that doesn't work, then you try the next. And the problem is, it can take time to see these changes, right? It can take a couple of months, it can take 6 months, it can take a year, which is the very difficult and potentially discouraging part of making a lifestyle change. Losing weight, it can be a very slow process. Changing all those levels in your blood work, very slow process. It can take up to 60 days of doing something every day to have a new habit. Most people are not that patient with themselves. Most people lose the motivation. Most people are not that consistent. Don't be like most people. Be like the people who can. Believe that you can. Do these things. Set up checklists and systems for yourself and say, you know what? I didn't do this today. I've got to do this before I go to bed. These lifestyle changes can have such a huge, huge impact. But you have to figure out your motivation. So what motivates you? Is it, I want to be proud of the way that I look. I want to feel good. I don't want to be tired all the time. Again, I want to go out and hike like I used to. I want to do something for myself because I do so many things for other people. If you're a caregiver, you probably fall into this category. You're doing everything for everybody else over here, and your health and your well-being is suffering and going down the tubes, right? I want to feel like I accomplished something. When there's a change that we have to make, we have to find that why. We've got to find the motivation, and we have to continually work at it. And that can require changing our mindset and changing the way that we think and being positive. Because the longer we wait to address these concerns that get worse, the harder it can be. So just some questions to ask yourself to find out where you are. Are you even ready to make a change? How much longer am I willing to be in this situation before I do anything? How much worse am I going to let it get? How bad does it have to be before I will take this seriously? Or have I been trying to make some changes, but I'm not seeing any results? If so, what's going on? What should I be doing differently? How can I look at this from a different perspective? Might somebody out there have more information? Who has succeeded at doing this that I could talk to that can tell me how they did it? What motivates me? Obviously, if I'm not doing this, I haven't found the right motivator. What's going to motivate me? If I don't do anything, or if I do something, where will I be in a week? In a week, will I be looking back and saying, oh my gosh, I did this for a whole week. I'm so proud of myself. Or will I look back and say, oh gosh, I let another week go. I let another month go. I let another 3 months go. I let a year go. I could have started changing this 12 months ago and I didn't do anything about it. Or what happens if I do nothing? Will I lose my right to improve this situation? Will I lose my ability to change this situation because it's gone way too far and I can't change what happened in the past? Now I'm at a new level, a new lower level. I can't get back up here. I'm starting, instead of starting from here, starting down here. I've lost my right to choose because of this gap that I let happen. So how do you find motivation if you can't motivate yourself? Get into a patient education group, find a caregiver support group. There is one on my Facebook page. It is called the Caregiving Trap. When we join with other people who pull us along, who say, come on, let's go for a walk today. Let's cook something healthy. Let's do this. Sometimes we need the motivation of other people to help us do this. When we don't feel like we're all alone and we're out there trying to do this and it's such a struggle, when there's other people. It's easier to make progress because we gain energy from other people. We can learn from the experiences of other people. So if you're having trouble motivating yourself, talk to people, join a group, find people who are in similar states who want to change. You don't want to be in a group where everybody's whining about how bad it is, because if that's all you think, it's only going to be bad. You want to be with the people over here who are like, hey, it's great. Hey, I did this. Wow, my life is so much better. I can't wait for you to see these changes. Be with happy people. Be with people that motivate you, and look to the future with happiness and hope and just the ability to have a wonderful life. Think about yourself today, however old you are. What do you want to be like in 10 years, 20 years, 50 years? What do you want to be when you're 95? If you're a family caregiver, look at the effects of chronic disease on all of your family members and say, you know what? I don't want to be like that. I want to be like the healthy people. And recognize that as consumers, as patients, the responsibility of learning about health, about taking actions to improve our health, it's right here. The doctors can't do it for you. The healthcare system can't do it for you. They can help you, they can support you, but you have to be the catalyst. You have to be the change. And let's be honest, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. Choose to be different. Choose not to be like most people. Choose to be the successful one in managing and improving your health and well-being, and improving really any area of your life, your career, your relationships, your level of happiness. You can do it. I'm Pamela D Wilson. I am a caregiver expert, advocate, and speaker. Information about me is linked below, links to my website, links to programs on my website, my podcast, The Caring Generation, my caregiver support group on Facebook that's called The Caregiving Trap, my book called The Caregiving Trap, all of that information. I ask you to please like this video, follow my channel, share it with others, comment even if it's only to say thanks for the video. Your participation helps motivate other people, helps other people find their way here to my channel and to my videos so that we can share all of this information worldwide to help people who are looking for hope, help, and support. Be the light for yourself, and be the light, be the motivator for other people in your life. I thank you so much for being here. I will see you all again soon in another video.